Awesome Vegan Gal here, and if you remember, well, how can you not remember, right? Last video was the video on how to make the sauerkraut, and I know it was a little bit long, but I hope you enjoyed it because I wanted to be very thorough on how the process works. So now it's been a week later, and behind me is the sauerkraut that's actually done. So let me show that to you close up in the camera. So as you can see, there's a lot of liquid and that filled up. I don't know if you could see it in the camera, all the liquid. If I turn it, maybe you could see it a little bit more. And it's compressed down. If you remember, the cabbage was all the way up to the top. So as it fermented, so to speak, like cooked, it compressed down. So it looks really good. If you remember the color beforehand, it didn't look like this, but now it does. And I actually have already tasted it from the top. Those pieces of cabbage on the top, it's funny, the color kind of drains from them and goes into the cabbage. It's very interesting if you watch the process, if you do it yourself. But it tastes really good. I like it really tangy. So just to explain the process, how it works. So you should have it in a place where it's warm, and of course this is a good container to do it because it has this this lock that seals it. And you can open it up after a few days to smell it to see if it's fermenting. And what you'll notice too is that as the water rises up, there'll be bubbles. You'll start to see it come bubbling up. So now it was a really good thing that the week I decided to make the sauerkraut, we had some warm days here where I live. And because if you don't live in a warm climate, you have to, figure out when to do it. Now, if you already had a batch made and you were reusing the liquid, that's what I recommend, is once you're done eating all this, save that liquid and reuse that. That'll be like a starter. You could still do the blending that I mentioned, but you could use that as well. And I don't know if the probiotics that I put in there actually help the process at all. That's something I can't really ascertain. Maybe if you're doing it in a colder climate and you use the probiotics, the powder that I used, it would help speed up the process. But I already noticed after 3 days, like the first day or so, it didn't seem like I was getting as much liquid rising. I mean, I started off with a little, if you remember. I don't know if you remember how it looked, but it's hard to maybe see it in the camera. But then after that, it started to really come up much more. So, and then like I said, it compresses down. Now what you can do is, as the cabbage compresses down from fermenting and softening, you could push down those cabbage leaves, but what you want to make sure is that the water doesn't rise above those cabbage leaves, the top ones that we use to actually press it down. So yeah, so then I like it to go 7 days. I could have probably done it less because I tasted it, I think, by the 4th or 5th day, and it tasted great, like it was ready. And I think, again, that has to do with the climate that you're in, if it's going to work fast. But now, it would only take maybe a few days when I'm reusing the liquid in here that I started it with. But I still, again, like to do it longer. I really like my sauerkraut to be tangy. So when you open it up, you can smell it. And it definitely smells very tangy. Now, what I did that was different that I mentioned in the last video that I've done before is when I blended the initial part to use as what we call a starter, I decided to put it on the top, and I was kind of concerned whether it would actually work. The pieces that were blended are on the top here. I can show that to you. And it did ferment, if you could see that. And you could see the liquid all around. And but I think future reference, I would probably put the starter at the bottom as opposed to waiting till I put all the cabbage in. The other option would be to get a big bowl as you're chopping it and mix it all in there and then put it in your jar. But that might not be the best thing for you to do. I think I mentioned that in the last video too. So now I'm actually going to taste it and let you know what I think, even though I've already tasted it. But so I'm going to take out a piece. Actually, I have a really big piece here from the cabbage that was on top. You can see that. So, but I'm going to take some of the actual sauerkraut that's underneath it and and underneath the one that was blended, and then show you what it looks like. Now, it does look a little bit different because of the, don't forget I also used the turmeric, you can see that. I also used turmeric in here and ginger, so it changed the color a little bit. Wow, I think that piece had a lot more turmeric around it. So it tastes more turmeric-y, if you could say that. I don't think that's a real word. But it tastes good. But I would probably, for future reference, I think I mentioned I would grate the turmeric. I chopped it up into little pieces, but I think grating it would be better. But it tastes really good. I just tasted the a fennel seed. I put fennel and dill seed in here as well. So you could see, let me see if I can show you that too in the camera. You could see the rosemary in there, the green. I don't know if you can see the green right over there. It's a little piece of rosemary. It's hard to see in the camera. And the liquid, like I say, I don't think you could see it, or maybe you can. I'm trying to move it around, so there you should be able to see it. That it rose up all the way to where it needed to be. So yeah, I was very satisfied with the results. Like I said, I've done this many times before, but I did it a little differently this time with the probiotics, and also with putting the blended liquid with the cabbage, or blended with the cabbage on the top as opposed to on the bottom. So yeah, I think it worked out very good and very satisfied. Now the color on the bottom, it looks kind of whitish, and that may have to do with the probiotics that I put in here. They may have kind of settled to the bottom. I don't know, I'm not exactly sure. But that's part of the fermentation process, and don't be concerned about that. It's not bad. You know, when you save the liquid, and when I did this multiple times, I kept resaving the liquid. After a while, I actually wasn't making any, and the liquid started to kind of go really funky. I mean, it could still ferment, so don't forget it's been fermenting. So, you know, you might want to check it. If it comes to a point where you feel like you don't want to use it, then don't, you know, because you might not be happy with the taste. So that's your own judgment. But I think it's great to make your own, and like I said, you could do so many different vegetables with it. But purple cabbage is my favorite. That's why I always opt for that. But, you know, I may at some other point try some other things. I have made it with Napa cabbage as well before, mixed. You know, that would be nice because you get see with the purple cabbage, that'll overtake everything, so it'll turn everything purple. So it's better to probably do something, if you're going to do Napa cabbage, do something else with it that could balance out the color so that you keep that white. You know, you might want to do carrots. You could also put in cucumbers. I mean, besides making it as pickles, you could actually put in cucumber. You can put in fennel, real, you know, the actual vegetable fennel. The options are really endless. Probably even you could try red pepper. I've never thought of that. That might be something interesting to do, bell pepper. So that's my results for making the sauerkraut. And I hope you yourself will try this, experiment with it, see how you do, and then, you know, leave comments below this video to let me know what kind of results you had, so that you know, we can all learn from each other. So I thank you for watching. It's the Rawesome Vegan Gal.